And what about you? And in the garage today we have a Ford Transit Custom, and this one is on the 2.2 Duratorq engine. This one is a 2014 model year. It's a Mark 8, and we're going to be changing the diesel filter. Well, this video it's actually more about the bleeding process. So I think some people, and certainly when I first did one of these yokes, I struggled to bleed the system, you know, and this video is more about that, really. So I think most people that's watching this channel will be able to change a fuel filter, but what I'm going to talk about more so in this is the fuel system in this machine. So we'll maybe see a wee bit more about that. Do a few things to this van. So new wheel bearing on there. So there's a lot of movement in the wheels, courtesy of that wheel bearing. And we have a new drive shaft. The center CV joint is shot on that one, so he's getting a drivetrain noise. And the other one is this here power steering pump. So this is the high side, the high pressure side of the power steering pump, and corroded and leaking. So I'll just tell you a wee bit about that. I know this is off the subject, but so this is the part of that power steering pump that goes into the rack. So that bit goes into the rack, and these are known to snap and cause a few problems. So the rust, they tend to rust there. See if you can see that rusting. And round there. And yeah. But it also gets captured by that O-ring. So as you can see, I cut it there. So there's a wee tip for anybody that's going to change a power steering pump in one of these Transits. So I cut it with brake pipe cutting tool. You cut it with anything you want, of course, you know, but that goes in dead easy, and spin it about 50 times and it eventually cuts through it. So you're left with this sort of door handle, you know, so you could maybe grab it like that and pull it, but there's not a lot of room and all that there. So what you want to do is you want to get it rotating, you know, load a WD-40 in there, you know, get it to rotate. And then what I did was wrapped a bit of a ratchet strap around it. This is just like an inch wide ratchet strap. So the strap bit lapped around this angle here a wee of times, and then hooked it on to a hole in the chassis leg behind it. Give it a couple of ratchets in, and that put a strain on it, you know, to pull it out. So what I think maybe some boys maybe do is to try and, if you go, if you try and wiggle it sort of that way, it'll snap that off and leave that bit inside the rack, and that is a disaster. Very difficult to get out. But the ratchet strap just pulls it out. Put a bit of strain on it and you give it a bit of a wiggle. Did I say pump there instead of pipe? Well, I meant the high pressure pipe associated with the power steering pump. So great job there, because it comes out of the power steering pump, the pipe that is, and goes outside the engine bay into the wheel well, and it rusts like crazy. That steel pipe where that is clipped on, and the low pressure side is aluminium. Anyway, back to this fuel filter. So here's a wee piece of information that I came across and may be useful. 2.2 Duratorq TDCI diesel engine. Note, the 2.2 Duratorq diesel features an electric fuel pump in the fuel pump. Electric fuel pump in the fuel pump and sender unit. Note, the purpose of the electric fuel pump is not to deliver fuel to the common rail pump. Okay, so this thing has indeed got a pump in the tank, but it does not feed fuel to the high pressure pump. That's not its purpose. So it's very low pressure. It's only like 5 psi or something, you know. So whenever you know, you can turn the key with the ignition on, it will run the pump, but it'll just push all the air up to the engine, and then it just airlocks. And that's why, you know, people have problems bleeding this thing. So, you know, the Mondeos and things like that, you know, people put a squeegee bulb on it to push it through and all that there. But this Transit anyway, it actually has a pump in the tank, but it's not designed to pump it in the way that it you normally sort of expect it to. So this is a wee bit it's a wee bit vague, like, to be quite honest with you. But the fuel filter of the diesel features a bypass control fuel preheater. With cold fuel, the majority of return of fuel is returned directly to the fuel filter, and therefore the fuel feed. So the reason, sort of what I'm taking from this is, you have a main tank, and then you have quite a large bowl for the fuel filter. So if you think of that, I sort of think of it as like nearly like a secondary tank, you know? So the fuel filter is actually a secondary tank, and the majority of the fuel return actually goes into the fuel filter, according to this. The fuel returning to the fuel tank does, however, also help to adequately fill the swirl pot. Now the swirl pot is number 4 here. The swirl pot is part of, you know, the typical sort of fuel pump and sender unit. You know, if there is insufficient fuel returning, there may not be enough fuel in the swirl pot of the fuel pump and sender unit. As a result, the common rail system could take in air when cornering. The air taken in could cause major damage to the injection system. The electric fuel pump draws only fuel from the fuel pump, and therefore assists with filling of the swirl pot. So this basically, the fuel pump is there to fill itself up, but you know, it will put enough pressure on it to fill the fuel filter canister, but it's sort of, you know, that's really all it does. It's only there to really move the fuel out of the tank, basically. So what am I on about, you may say? Well, what I'm trying to get at is, there's the main fuel tank, diesel tank, and we have then the fuel filter housing, which is quite large, you know. I don't no idea what it holds, but it's quite big. So what I have done here is I've rigged in line a pressure gauge. Now it's upside down at the minute, but I'll flip it around in the edit whenever I record that on its own. So to change this fuel filter, you know, it's pretty straightforward. You need this thing here, this tool, which is an Irishman's tennis racket. There's a ring with a big hole in it, and that fits into those ribs. Let's see. Yes, that fits into those ribs, and you just turn it. There's an arrow given a location, and that'll be locked. There's a picture of a lock, and then there's an unlock position. So you just rotate it, sort of like a quarter of a turn, till the arrow moves around to there, you know. Drain it first with that drain by there. Disconnect the electrical connector. You remove that bowl. But I've rigged this in here, and this will show us, you know, what kind of pressure we'll have just by turning the ignition on. Right, so this is our fuel filter bowl removed. Right, as I said earlier on, the purpose of the electric pump in the main tank is not to deliver fuel to the common rail. But what it does do, as we saw with the gauge, is it delivers fuel into this bowl and fills this bowl up. So you probably see, probably on the YouTube, you know, people filling this here with diesel and then putting it in. There's absolutely no reason to do that unless you want to get yourself covered in diesel. But anyway, it leads me on to this next wee bit. So there's three different types of fuel filter, but they all fill this housing. You know, so you could get a fuel filter and it doesn't look like this one, and or the one you have, but it's actually okay. So you see this one here has, you see that sort of clip there, the way that's clipped in, you know. So let me see, there's an arrow. Is this going to come up on camera? So there's an arrow there on the actual filter. So this is the actual filter, and that corresponds with our external arrow that we saw earlier, that corresponds with the wee padlock symbol and the unlock symbol that's on the actual, you know, the top of the housing. So okay, right, so we'll take that off. Just need to press it up and that comes out like so. So there you can maybe see it better, those type of clips, you know, that clip that in position. So this new one we have, I'll take it out of the bag. So my gloves were covered in diesel there, so we'll just do it without the gloves for the minute. This is nice and clean. So there's the arrow. Looks the same sort of dimensions, but the clips that hold it in are different. So you see it's these type of clips. So it doesn't sort of, you know, rotate in. It just clips in, you know. But this is perfectly fine. And this one here is a genuine one. So here's some more documentation from Man Filter. Guidance for demounting, unclip the water sensor, drain all the fuel out into that, and that's some fuel for your garage here then. Great. So type A, B and C of filter. So what they're calling here the bayonet, so that's that hooky bit there circled. So that one we have is type A. Type B then is those wee buys that just clips down. That's type B. So we have a type B here. And then type C is you get a separate ring, and the ring clips on. So let's see. We'll show you another picture of type C. I've never used a type C. I've never seen a type C myself. But let me see, what's this here? Oh yes, so that's the padlock. So you couldn't see it very well under the car, it was covered in dirt. So unlocked padlock, lock padlock on the top bit of the housing, and you rotate it with your Irishman's tennis racket there, or table tennis bat, or whatever you want to call it. And you spin around. You really need that tool, by the way. Really need that tool, because those things, you know, they really are clicked into position, and there's quite a thick O-ring goes on, and that's how you know a genuine. By the way, the genuine ones have blue O-rings, and the aftermarket ones tend to be black O-ring. But anyway, or brown. So yes, they're clicked in quite firmly, and it's been there a while, and that O-ring gets crushed. So you know, you could take it off with your hands or whatever, but it's, you know, that tool, it's only about a tenner. Oh yes, the type C is that type with the separate ring on the top. So there's no clips on it at all. That ring is the clip, is where it clips onto the bowl part. So yeah, you might get any one of these if you order a new fuel filter, but they all do. So a bit of a clean out with a paper towel. We find our arrows there. And we get our new one. Find the arrow on the new one. And this again is this type B style. So it's just a case of straight down and it clips in. So you don't twist, you know, you don't twist this style like you do with that style, you know. So straight down, and that's it. Clicks in. So there's no twisting, you know, because it falls into these wee recesses there and there. So if you try to twist that, you'll probably snap that off or something. So that's it. Wee bit of oil on here and here, ready to go back in. Oh, I remember to tighten that up. Right, and that's our new filter in. Just click that water sensor back on again. And we'll make sure that's tight. That's dead on. And I've taken off our wee pressure gauge. So I just had that pressure gauge connected just out of sort of curiosity to see what kind of pressure that in-tank pump was indeed making. So as I said probably earlier on, the main tank behind us here, the main fuel tank, the diesel tank, basically pumps the fuel into here. Now it will sort of lift it, so that's why you hear people calling it a lift pump. You know, it will lift it up to the engine, but you know, this is now full of air and it'll just push all the air right up, you know, and well, that's an airlock then. So we do have to bleed it, and this is the bit that can be tricky, but there's an easy way of doing everything, you know. There's an easy way and a hard way. Multiple ways as well, by the way. So you don't want to be sitting cranking and cranking and cranking. You know, the fuel pump will eventually fill this up, this canister, but it'll not fire the engine, because it'll just be, you know, an airlock. You'll just be trying to push. It's just pushing on the air, you know. So the air has to have somewhere to go, and that's bleeding, like, you know. Anyway, installation of this bio. So a wee tip maybe. It is a bit of a cod, you know. You sort of need two hands below to get it up in. You need to push it up in. Make sure that these arrows are lined up. So you see that arrow there with our wee open padlock. Make sure the arrows are lined up with that arrow, not the padlock. You know, it's just a symbol with the arrow, because if it's off either side, if you're, you know, over here or at the padlock, you know, it won't go up in. So it needs to go up in, you know, twist. So you need to push it up in, and then give it a wee bit of a burl around with your hands, really. And then you put the tennis racket on it and make it go the rest of the way. So it goes right around to this other arrow that you probably can't see because it's sort of worn off. And you hear a click, and that's, you know, it's home. You know, but we a new seal on it, and say I just use engine oil, a wee squirty job on the new O-ring, and that blue O-ring is quite proud. So, you know, it is a bit of a squeeze to get her up in, you know, but it is doable. But to me, you definitely need that tool to bring that around, you know. So we're on to the bleeding process then, you know. So we're in the engine bay here, as you can see, and in below that, our intake. There is a Schrader valve. So I have the air intake pipe pulled to the side here, and it's tied over just so that you can see. So here's the Schrader valve with a wee silver cap on it. We'll take that off. So this is here for to bleed this fuel system, you know. So what you could do is, you know, you could turn the ignition on and off a whole load of times, and you know, squeeze the Schrader valve down with a pick or something, you know, until all the air comes out. But what I like to do is quite simply one of these tire valve tools, you know. Let's see, where are you? Just take her out. And we'll grab a bit of 6mm tube. And just shove it over the end of it. There we go. Aye. Our 6mm tube wasn't quite long enough, so I did a wee joiner on it. Right, we'll run this for a wee bit. There we go. And we get our Schrader valve back in again. Hey, got that dropped in there. We'll just run her again. Right, new wire. And we'll see if this thing starts. Let me boot in the clutch, I think. So, first time after changing the fuel filter, no problem at all. And that wasn't a setup. Right, so you know she starts. I didn't even have the air pipe connected again, but I'm good with that. I know that there's no air in the fuel, and that's that job complete. So connect that up again. Well, I'm going to do the air filter, and then I'm going to run it for a wee bit, warm the oil up, do an oil dump on it, and that'll be this van ready to go. Out. So maybe get something out of that. Many thanks for watching, and all the best. And are you too old for that?
Yeah, I'm too old.
You too old for that?
Look how big I am. Look at the size of it.
Oh, okay.